I don't need my Walmart to see that.
Shit that Corpus started. No, they started the annexation and then McCollum went around all the other cities saying, you should do this too because you're not going to be able to. So he got everybody started to do it.
Is he on? Can you go on the laptop?
And then Portland is getting like 10,000 acres from Corpus, so they wouldn't. When you were there, so she wouldn't speak against them.
Portland put us on.
I know they have.
She knows how to build that too.
And that state rep Terry Canales. He was the chair of transportation.
I call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Aransas Pass, June 17, 2019 at 6:08 p.m. We're going to rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, and Pastor Don Walsh will do the invocation.
Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for this gathering tonight. We just thank you for your many blessings upon our communities as we continue to rebuild from Hurricane Harvey. We just ask, Lord, for your continued guidance and blessing, especially, Lord, help us to reach out to those that are least among us and those that are hurting. Just ask, Father, for your wisdom and guidance in this meeting tonight. We just pray, Lord, that there will be a calmness and a peace and respectful opinions submitted before the City Council. We just ask, Father, all things will be done to glorify you and to continue to improve our city, our communities. We ask, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we're going to go to presentation and proclamations, and Ms. Jacqueline is up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm just here to give a brief update on how Campground Harbor is going. Mr. Edwards asked me to just give you an update. I haven't been here in a little while. It's going well. That's pretty much the update. We just heard back from TCEQ on one of the sites. There's two that we're still working on. TCEQ just got back to us that we're doing great work on the one that they just JBS, Erickson Seafood, where they are. They would like us to take some more samples, but at a reduced rate than we had been doing, which is great. We think we're doing a good job, doing what we should be doing. So the other site that we're waiting to hear back from is Coastline, which is up on the bluff over by where the old water tank is, from JBS. Empty lot now. So we're waiting for TCEQ to get back to us and tell us that you're still doing good work. We're hoping that they're just going to approve our report and say, sounds great, take another round of samples just to prove your point and you can be done. So this is pretty good news. I don't know if you have any specific questions, things you want me to talk about.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to a presentation by Rockport Terminal LLC regarding proposed property use and plans for development for property located north of Aransas Pass and extending up to the city of Rockport's ETJ and along Highway 35 bypass and Highway 35 business, invited by the city of Aransas Pass.
Mayor, council members, my name is Roxanne Paez-Cotorneo, and I'm the city attorney for the city of Aransas Pass. On June the 7th, 2019, the mayor sent an invitation to Rockport Terminals to provide a public presentation to hopefully answer questions to the public about their proposed uses, their plans for their property. Their property is located on Business 35, right on the shoreline. We're hoping to get a full explanation to answer questions from people who continually ask us questions that we don't have all the answers for. With that said, I'd like to let the community know that this is going to be the first time that the City Council has seen this presentation, and we look forward to hearing what David Earl, attorney for Rockport
Thank you, Roxanne. It's loud. A lot of gain on that mic. It's a privilege to be here before all of y'all tonight, and I'm so glad that we live in a country where so many people can be involved in the government. And today, that's a rare thing in this world, so we should all be very thankful for it. It's my honor to be here, and I look forward to giving this presentation to answer some questions and raise some concerns that we have as well about what's going on with regard to the area. So, as Roxanne said, I am David Earl, representing Rockport Terminals. Can y'all hear me in the back of the room? Okay, I'll speak louder. I'm David Earl, representing Rockport Terminals, and this slideshow should answer some questions for you and give you some very important information that I think every one of you will want to know about regarding the environment, regarding land uses, regarding things that are going on in your community that are very important to us all as property owners, including my client. Next slide, please. So let's start off with the past. Y'all have heard a lot of things, a lot of chatter on social media. Who here has seen something on social media about this project or about Rockport Terminals? Okay, so there's been a lot of activity on social media. So what is Rockport Terminals? In the past, next slide, Rockport Terminals, the property that it currently is located on, that my clients purchased, was the old Degussa plant. How many people remember that? Pretty much everybody would think. The Degussa plant was owned by a German company, and it produced carbon black. And I really wish we had less lighting in this room, because you'd be able to see the amount of just dirt and pollution being created, soot being created by this plant. Next slide. This plant was in operation for many, many years, and in fact, people used to identify the coastline to see this plant to bring themselves back into the shore because it was such an eyesore. But my clients purchased it about 3 years ago. Next slide. And my clients basically want you to know the following things about this property. They're not in any way associated with Degussa. Rockport Terminals, LLC, is a group of partners from Texas. They came together to buy this plant. They've spent over $3 million doing remediation at this plant. But there's some key points we want to clear up, because there have been some social media posts that have given some well, less than proper, less than honest comments about our property. Number one, our property is not a Superfund site, and it never has been. It was dirty, it was nasty, a lot of carbon black, a lot of crude oil spilt on the site when Degussa was operated that had to be cleaned up. Like I said, it's cost almost $3 million to do that so far, but it was never a Superfund site. Another comment that has been made, unfortunately, is that the property would be, quote, contaminated for the next 500 years. Not true. In fact, the property is not contaminated hardly at all. There's a very small part of it, over 300 acres, that has a remnant of contamination that's being cleaned up under voluntary program. In fact, the property has been cleaned up almost completely under the TCQ voluntary cleanup program at a cost of over $3 million. And the TCQ has approved the property for commercial and industrial development. It's gotten so clean that they've given certificates which have been recorded that acknowledge and approve the property for redevelopment. So we're very excited about that. We look forward to what may happen to bring jobs and a good, proper development to this area. So what is the current status of Rockport Terminals in the city? Just to let you know a little background. As Roxanne said, this is the first time this city council has seen this presentation. Heck, except for me and my son and a couple other people, it's the first time anybody's seen this presentation. However, Rockport Terminals approached the city some time ago to discuss the future use plans. And Rockport Terminals provided the city a full briefing in executive session, one of those closed-door sessions that the public cannot attend. We were asked to go into executive session, and we provided a full briefing to them on the proposed use and what the status of our property was. Why did we do this? We did it because the city decided to try to annex our property, and that's a big deal. It's a real big deal. As any of you know who have been threatened by annexation who live in the city, it can mean a lot of things. And so we briefed them on what was happening and some ideas we had about doing some kind of special district to help bring sewer and other utilities into the area. Rockport Terminals requested the city manager and the city attorney be able to negotiate with us on doing some kind of an agreement to put forth land use restrictions and other restrictions that everybody can feel comfortable with in the hopes of not being annexed, frankly. But the city refused to authorize the city manager and city attorney to negotiate despite our request. And unfortunately, the city, or at least some of the council persons, have accused Rockport Terminals of planning bad uses on its land. That is not true. We don't have any bad uses planned on our land. The city set up this briefing about Rockport Terminals tonight, and we believe using a lot of falsehoods that they published, or at least not the city as a corporate body, because there's a lot of good people that work for the city. Most of them are great people. But a few people involved with the city pushed out a lot of falsehoods on social media to get people stirred up, and you know what?
Mr.
It
Earl,
worked.
I'm going to ask you not to make accusations against the city council. I don't expect this to turn
But Rockport Terminals wants to share the truth, so let's get into that. Next slide. The property. The present condition of the property. Rockport Terminals property, as I said, has been cleaned up. These photographs show the current condition. Next slide. As you can see, there's no plant even remaining on the property. It's been leveled. All the dirt that had oil on it has been scraped up and taken to Robstown to be disposed of. The property has been cleaned up, and as you can see now from this vantage point, it's in a very clean and green condition, and we intend to keep it that way with regard to whatever kind of development we do. We want to make sure that it's a clean development and has green goals, environmentally sensitive goals, as I'm sure the city council would want, and all of you would want as well. So what's the future look like? Next slide. Rockport Terminals has the right to develop its property for commercial or industrial uses. It's been granted by the TCQ, as I said. That's been recorded as a record. It's finishing the last stage of about 2.5 acres of voluntary cleanup out of the 300 plus acres it had to deal with. It wants to develop the land with responsible and proper uses. Very important. We want to ensure that all development complies with every state and federal regulation. And this is important. We currently have no user and no buyer for our property. All we're doing is holding it, trying to clean it up, and we hope to encourage a good buyer, a good user, to come in and do something proper with the property. To be clear, the city, well, Rockport Terminals has knows another falsehood that may have been spread around. Rockport Terminals has no agreements with the city of Rockport. We have no agreements with the city of Corpus Christi or with Ingleside. None. Let me just stop and tell you, we do have rail access to our property. We do have a little dock facility there that can handle about 2 or 3 barges, potentially, regular barges that a tugboat would push. They can handle, offloading and unloading materials. And we've got a small pipeline that goes from that harbor facility, little port facility, to the tanks that still remain that you saw in the photo. But we intend to use all of those in a way that hopefully will encourage a good user to come and bring some economy back to this area. So we also wanted to make it clear that we committed to the city and we commit to y'all to improve the Highway 35 corridor when the property does develop. We put a lot of thought into this. We make sure it's done right and looks nice. We agree to keep the public informed of our future plans. If we do get a buyer or user, we're going to let you know who they are and what they plan to do. We're not going to hide it from you or keep it secret. You've got my word on that. So the next slide. We also want to agree to join the community in preventing pollution and improper uses in this community overall. It affects all of us. An improper use, an environmental use that would be bad for the environment, affects us all. I think we can agree on that. So in the future, we have a plan. This is looking down 35. It's our landscape architect's rendering. We've already gotten a bid on 1,000 trees. We're looking at either saltwater cypress or oak trees to plant along 35 to increase the bird habitat near the coastal area, as well as provide any kind of a buffer, visual buffer with regard to whatever might happen on the property, commercial activity or industrial activity. This is something we've committed to do and want to do because it's the right thing to do, not because there's any regulations saying we have to do it. And these renderings kind of show what that would look like in the future, hopefully, if we have a good user that can come and use our property and join up with us to do that. So that brings to the next point of preventing pollution and improper uses. And it's become very clear to us how important it is to protect Con Brown Harbor. You just heard a report about how much work has been done to clean up the environmental concerns at Con Brown Harbor. It used to be the jewel. It still is an important aspect of the city. The shrimping industry was based there. And y'all want to make sure it's protected. Now, there may be people that are going to be angry about what I'm going to say, but I want to tell you the truth if I'm allowed to. Okay? I'm allowed to. So the real Superfund site is one that the city is currently partnering with. Let me tell you the past on that site. Next slide. This property is located south of the bridge, not too far south from Pelican Cove. If you don't know where that, I'm sure you know where that development is. This property is a Superfund site. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but it's an old refinery. It was the Falcon Refinery, and it is an official EPA Superfund site. That's not a rumor. It's not a claim. That's a fact. Next slide. This may be hard to see from the back of the room especially, but this is what they call a plume map. It shows the groundwater contamination caused by the Superfund site over time. Currently, it's over 10,000 milligrams per liter of pollution, TSS, in the blue shaded areas and over 1,000 milligrams per liter in the green shaded areas. That's in the groundwater, and that has to be dealt with in some way. And there's a plan for them to try to get this cleaned up. But that's not the difficult part about this.
Mr. Earl, I'm going to actually stop you just for a second, only because I'm not familiar with what you're discussing, and I don't know if what you're discussing actually is proven fact. We have not received any information from you regarding it, and you're interested in being transparent, and we only have you posted for a presentation regarding your proposed property uses and the development of your property, so you're actually going outside the agenda item.
I'm not familiar with this neither, and I'd like to be. I wouldn't mind hearing what he's got to say.
Not to dance around the question.
I'm not dancing around a question, Mayor. I'm being very direct. What we're not going to do with it. Okay. So this site and all the documents I'm showing you are directly out of TCQ or EPA documents. Okay. This is a document that reflects the text directly from the EPA documents. The Falcon Refinery occupied 104 acres in San Patricio County. It's in the ETJ of the city of Aransas Pass. And it was a dock facility, had underground pipelines, including pipelines that went to Redfish Bay, where materials were transferred between barges and storage tanks. Now that's something that's very concerning. That transfer of materials between barges and storage tanks is something the city has told us, we've heard loud and clear, that they're worried about on any use along the coastal way, including Rockport terminals. Well, this facility used to do that. They used to transfer oil and fuel. In fact, the Falcon Refinery, aka National Oil Recovery Corporation, had a refinery that operated and had over 40,000 barrels per day capacity with primary products consisting of naphtha, jet fuel, kerosene. Now that's all the past, right? So what about the future, the present? The present risk is that there's a company or group of companies that have acquired that site who have entered into a contract with the city of Aransas Pass.
Mr. Earl,
Yes.
the agenda item is posted for you to discuss what is happening on Rockport Terminal. Do you own this land?
Next slide.
If you don't own this land, you're violating the Texas Open Meetings Act. We can bring this back at a later time, but I do not want to be accused of you
Well, the
violating.
public only has until July the 8th to make public comments, as it's shown on this form we handed out to you. Otherwise, they're going to be able to dredge $4.2 million of the seabed, 4.2 million cubic feet, or cubic yards rather, of the seabed, and displace 600 acres of wetlands as a part of the contract that your city council has with this company.
What are you talking about? I don't know about what you're doing. What are you talking
We
about?
have, the Rockport Terminals has no plans on its property currently. These guys do, and y'all deserve to know about it.
What are you talking about? This is the first time we've heard any of this.
Y'all have,
You were here to hear a presentation of what you're gonna do with the land. Now
Yeah,
answer my
so
question.
talk
Mayor,
Why can't you get down to the bottom line of it?
Mayor, I've told you everything I know
You
about
have
what
not.
we do with the land.
You have not.
Davey, you haven't said a damn thing what you're going to do yet.
Yes, I have. We don't know because we don't have a buyer or user. How much simpler can I make it?
This is not the presentation you made to the city council when we all got very nervous about what your proposed plan for this property is. We want to know what you propose for this property.
The buyer needs, just like you said.
I just told you.
The fuel tanks, the barges, what are these barges, what kind of chemicals these barges are going to be coming through?
You want to talk about, again,
Exactly what
we
you're
have
gonna do with that
no,
property.
excuse me, you know what? You're not acting appropriately. I'm giving a presentation. I was invited here to give a presentation, and y'all are being very, very rude and unprofessional.
Mr. Earl.
You're yelling.
Mr. Earl, as the city attorney, I'm concerned that you're getting off the subject matter, and it's important to remain in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Can you please go back to discussing your property as posted for notice 72 hours in advance of this meeting?
Well, let me just say this about our property. We were asked by the city staff whether we wanted to do an agreement that's called a industrial district agreement on our property. And that would have been an agreement like this property enjoys with the city of Aransas Pass, which prohibits the city from ever
Mr.
annexing this
Earl, the
property.
city has not offered anything to you. You have offered options to the city that we will consider. I will tell you that it's also a violation of the Texas Open Meetings Act to discuss anything that was conducted in executive session.
Then can we, I'm not discussing executive session, you're all the ones that brought the presentation I gave. But let me just say this, I would like to be able to tell the rest of this story to you before these permits get issued and you don't have time to object to it. So I'm asking this council to repost this item and let us go into this issue with regard to your agreement on this property that allows 1 billion gallons of fuel to be handled a year.
This is
2
my
super
third notice,
tankers.
Mr. Earl. You're violating the Texas Open Meetings Act.
Okay.
I want it noted for the record. Thank you.
You're welcome. And it allows 1 billion gallons of fuel to be handled here. Next slide, please. I'll run through these slides and I'll just say nothing else.
Yes.
Keep going.
You know, it's important that the public remain apprised of all public information. Under the Texas Open Meetings Act, I'm going to say once again that you were asked to give a presentation regarding your property. We are not allowed to discuss any other property on this agenda item. I have no idea what you were talking about, what you're presenting, and I don't want you to allege claims that may be untruthful or not be able to be rebutted. So if there's anyone who's being unprofessional, Mr. Earl, I believe it's you, because you haven't told us what you're talking about or what you're trying to allege or how it relates to Rockport Terminals, which is what you're required to discuss today. So I will accept, on behalf of the City Council, your request for a future agenda item, and the mayor and the council will make the decisions on whether to do that. At this point, would you please refer back to the agenda and let us discuss your property? If you have nothing else to say about Rockport Terminals, then thank you for your presentation, and we'll move forward with the agenda.
Okay, let's just see if there's any other slides, anything about Rockport Terminals, and then we'll call it quits. Can you just run through them, please? Next slide. Next slide. So just to show you where Rockport Terminals is, this is a slide that shows the green star is Con Brown Harbor. The yellow arrow is Pelican Cove Development. Next slide. Okay, the green dot up there is where Rockport Terminals property is. Can you all see that? Okay. Next dot. That site is the site where they're going to be doing the 1 billion gallons a year of handling. I won't talk about that because I know Roxanne will get upset. This is the prevailing wind direction here. Next slide. From the southeast. Next slide. This is a map showing on the top green star, first of all, the Aransas Pass ETJ. The city limits is the inner red circle. The ETJ is the outer red circle. You see Ingleside city limits in blue. The top green star is Rockport Terminals. Again, the middle green star is Con Brown Harbor. And the bottom green star is Pelican Cove. Next slide. Again, this happens to be the handling facility I was speaking about earlier. This is the prevailing winds. Can you go back to that other slide, please? Next slide, please.
Yeah. That's what I want you to see.
Next slide. Thank you. Hopefully we can have a more in-depth conversation about the environmental concerns that we have at a future meeting. Thank you.
Still didn't find out what they're gonna do with it. Let's go to the next one. We have a presentation by Ronnie Parker, Mayor of Ingleside, regarding annexation phase 2 and other related matters.
Mayor, council, staff, I'm not here to talk about the annexation, but I am here to talk about the railway. The railway going through your community will have to come through my community, and my citizens' community, and my council's community. And we don't want it. I understand y'all feel the same way about it, and the reason we don't want it, I pulled the statistics up on rail. Nearly every 2 hours, a person or vehicle is hit by a train in the United States. Every 2 hours. So, that gives you an idea how dangerous it is. Then you have the train-car collisions, you have the train-train collisions, you have the derailment, and the damage to the properties and everything else. We have no idea and no control of what these trains carry. I know we have on the outside of our city limits that run to the plants there. They have caustic acid. They have all kinds of chemicals that if they're spilled out, and if you're in the prevailing wind of it, you're going to need respirators and everything. We don't need that in our communities. Our communities and our citizens don't make a dime off these railroad tracks. It's the industry that makes the money. If they want rail to theirs, let them go around our towns. Well, look at that. They can go around on the far north side where the southeast wind pushes anything that comes off of it away from our communities. We don't have to worry about them having collisions with our citizens and killing our citizens. We don't have to worry about the traffic congestion. Right now, Ingleside, you drive through there at 5 o'clock, you think you're in downtown Houston. If we have a rail across there, and that train comes across there at 5 o'clock, it's gonna be backed up on the IOB. Then the citizens are gonna be coming up, the traffic will be coming up 27, 25, and probably hitting the Ramsey Pass. So y'all have that much more of an influence on it. Y'all rail cuts off towards Pelican Cove. Can you imagine what that's gonna be if that rail line comes through there and spends 45 minutes or an hour during the middle of the summer, and everybody's trying to get to the island? That traffic can back up, plumb through your red light and everything else. So that's what I'm here tonight to discuss, is that we don't want rail in our town. We will support y'all in not having the rail in your town because of everything that it can cause harm to our citizens and everything else in that aspect. I've got another council member with me. He feels the same way. And I believe we have a resolution coming up in our council that I believe will get passed by our majority of our council in that aspect. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I also had a call today from Patrick Rios, and he's also supporting us on the annexation. He's a mayor from Rockport, and he supports us, gives us their support of what we're doing. And now we're going to go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to...
No items listed on the consent agenda, Mayor. You may proceed to the next agenda item.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's open up the public hearing for 6-1, but I believe we're going to table that one.
I make a motion that we table items 6.1 and 6.2 under the public hearings.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're going to go to 6.3, and it's the third public hearing. I'm going to open up the third public hearing on annexation phase 2. Discuss, consider, and conduct third public hearing for the proposed annexation of up to 1,400 acres of land located north of Aransas Pass and extending up to the city of Rockport's extraterritorial jurisdiction, ETJ, and along Highway 35 bypass and Highway 35 business.
Mayor and City Council member, this is a public hearing whereby you'll be able to hear comments for and against the annexation of Phase 2, which is 1,400 acres. Generally, that is acreage that runs along Highway Bypass 35 and Highway 35 business. As the public approaches, if you shall wish to make comments for or against this, I have been given permission to inform you that Rockport Terminals has sued Councilmember Carrie Scruggs. They have sued her for libel and business disparagement. They sought a temporary restraining order to stop her from speaking. They specifically asked the court for 4 things. They asked the court to stop her from saying that the site was a Superfund site. She never said that. They asked the court that the property not be contaminated, not be discussed, that it was contaminated for 500 years. She never alleged the property was contaminated by Rockport Terminal. She alleged that there was contamination from Degussa, which Rockport Terminals agrees. Those 2 items were signed by a judge that was from out of the area. There is going to be a hearing Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning on whether or not there is a permanent injunction to prohibit her from talking those 2 things. There are an additional 2 things that Rockport Terminals tried to get a temporary restraining order against Councilmember Scruggs, but failed. And I want to make them clear tonight. They are for her to prevent the current or proposed discussions of uses of Rockport Terminals property that are in any way injurious to the environment. And number 4, making any statements of the current or future uses of the property. While Councilmember Scruggs did not make any of those comments as alleged by David Earl today, those decisions will be made in a court of law along with the permanent injunction held on Wednesday morning. I make these points to tell you that anyone who wishes to provide comments for or against this annexation, please do so. But I caution you to not use any specific business names such as Rockport Terminals, Mojave, or any other agencies or businesses that might be located in Phase 2 so that you too can prevent any kind of lawsuit being filed against you to keep you quiet.
Every single person that comes up has 3 minutes to speak.
Mayor David Earl, I'm an attorney for Rockport Terminals, and as a point of order, just to let you know, I don't think that any of the things that the city attorney just spoke about was on the agenda. Now, I'm also have the privilege of having been appointed as a negotiator to represent the interests of the Phase 2 annexation area by the County of Aransas, because in our opinion, the negotiator's opinion, and we met with the city today for a couple of hours trying to negotiate this annexation service plan. The city's about to bite off a $22 million obligation from our calculations, and that's based on a very, very inadequate study done on what the cost of service will be to Phase 2. If the city takes on that $22 million obligation, the only way they've identified that they intend to pay for it is by seeking grants, free money. That's like me telling you to buy a house. I want you to build me a house, but not to worry because I'm going to buy a lottery ticket so I can pay for it. That doesn't make sense. So they're setting the taxpayers of this city up to take on an over $22 million liability. If they do that, their tax rate would go from 77 cents to well in excess of 85 cents, which is their cap. It's financially irresponsible to do it. There's no need to do it because Rockport Terminals has offered an agreement, which I kind of tried to highlight earlier, and work with the city on their concerns, even offered to do voluntary annexations to get them where they want to go without having to take on the service obligations. Now, we've given all that package of information to the city attorney and city manager today, and I'm sure they're going to share it with the city council so they can make a decision on it. But I want you to know, as part of my comments, that you have an alternative to being overtaxed and being provided less service and less fire response time and less police response time, and that is to work with people instead of trying to suppress them. And again, Rockport Terminals is not looking to be in litigation with anybody, and we respect everybody in the community as a neighbor and want to try to do something good on our property. But we are very much opposed to the annexation. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney David something or other. Where's John Smith? My name is Martha Hoblitzel. I'm from Ingleside. I don't think some of us can get less service. I've owned property in Con Brown Harbor for 40 years. I've said in the past I don't have drainage. In reality, I probably do because Con Brown Harbor swamp drains to my property to the drainage ditch, which is listed as Pacific Street or road, whatever. I've never had a street to my property. I've never had water, sewer. And about 10 years ago, my taxes went up 1,743% because of what might go into Campground Harbor. I want to discuss fairness. Anyone who knows me knows that I've fought for the underdog most all my life, even when it doesn't help me. Tonight I went to a city council meeting that you were to have at 5 o'clock. The door was locked. It was not a closed door meeting. That's a violation of Open Meetings Act. I could not get in. I told Priscilla several times, it's not a closed door meeting. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I told your city manager, you have the door locked. He walks over, puts the metal thing down, and walks away. He didn't say sorry or go on in or whatever. By the time I got in there, y'all had already gone. That was a violation of Open Meetings Act. You said David violated because he deferred from the agenda. You had Ronnie Parker, mayor of Ingleside, on for discussing annexation. He was not going to discuss anything about annexation. He did discuss about the railroad, and you let him. You let him. And then you let her talk about whatever she wants about litigation that has not been settled. Y'all, shame on you.
Hi, City Council. My name's Bill Averback. I moved here about 3.5 years ago and bought a house and gutted and rebuilt it. And, if there was a railroad track, if there was a railroad cars going down the tracks, I could see them from my living room, from inside the living room. This worries me, and I'm concerned that unless the city annexes the property in question, that there will be no restrictions on how the property will be used. There will be the city will not have any control over environmental issues or anything involving the community safety. So I'm for annexation. I don't particularly like the idea that there has to be changes to the people that live in the area that don't want it annexed. I understand they want their freedom. However, the other alternative would be to have another city annex the property, or to leave it unannexed and have it used by whatever industry wants to go in there and do whatever they want, without any restrictions or any repercussions for doing things that would harm our community. I have lots of chickens, so I'm concerned about my chickens. But I also have I grow a lot of vegetables, and I grow them organically, so I'm concerned that the pollution, aside from what it would do to the health if there was an accident, which I'm very concerned about anyway, I'm concerned that this will make my food poisonous to a certain extent. So there are lots of health issues involved, and I understand that some people are against the annexation, but I understand that it is maybe the lesser of two evils to annex the land. So I'm for it, and I hope the city council and I hope the community understands the health and environmental issues, because we make a living off of the clean air and the clean water that we have here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Dio, and I own Mike's Drilling and Pump Service. I'm a master licensed driller, master pump installer by the state of Texas. I know a lot about groundwater laws. I drill wells. This city often tells the public you cannot drill a well in the city. You must hook onto the city water. That is not true. State law requires you to hook up to municipal sewer. That is a law. That is true. I'm being annexed. I'm not even trying to cry about my problems with them trying to steal my land. But I just want you, as the public, to know the lies that they'll tell you. And I'm going to tell you right now, the gentleman over here, the attorney, he told y'all perfect facts. My company took thousands of dollars from the Rockport terminals to clean up the groundwater wells on that place. I had the contract with that. My company did that to protect the groundwater for all y'all and our children and our children's children. They are telling you very truthfully, they are cleaning it up. My company did a lot of environmental work out there. I want to just tell you, he is telling you straight. They're trying to clean it up. I'm not even trying to cry about they're trying to steal my farm and take me into the city. I just want facts. I did. I got paid thousands of dollars to protect your groundwater for future. City of Aransas Pass didn't push none of that. They didn't push none of the cleanup. Rockport Terminals did with TECQ, TDLR, TNRCC. We all worked together on it in a legal situation. I just wanted to point that out. You people will lie to the public. He's telling the truth.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to talk. My name is Herb Lancaster. While I don't live in the city limits, I do have an Aransas Pass address. I'm going to read because I'm not as, I guess, able to speak in clear form the rest of y'all have. I'm truly frightened. I'm frightened for several reasons. One, I'm just in a position after the hurricane to rebuild my home, which is about 600 yards from the proposed facility. I have to make some decisions. The rail line runs adjoining my business, and I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to, well, let me go ahead and read. I'm sure most of us here have gone through a lot of it last year. The hurricane touched virtually everyone. I'm now beginning to rebuild my home and business after the hurricane. I've always been a community-minded citizen and employer and look forward to getting back on my feet. So when I learned of the reopening of the rail spur, I posted on my private Facebook page to reach out to friends to get their opinions on the matter. I live less than a mile from the primary site and own a business right on the railroad tracks in downtown Aransas Pass, H. Lancaster Company, the furniture company. We did all the benches in downtown Aransas Pass. And anyway, obviously I have an interest in knowing all I can, and this is an essential for me to make plans. There's been minimal media coverage, there's been little public comment, and when I talk to people in the area, no one seems to know much of anything at all regarding what the plans are. And I thank you very much for coming, very much. You were very insightful. For my effort to discover what's happening, some are saying I conspired with others to do harm. I certainly have not conspired with anyone, nor do I intend to. As a matter of fact, until very recently, I actually thought the city was joined in the development of this site and excited about reactivating the railroad track. How wrong I was on that. I am now at a crossroads. As I mentioned, after almost 2 years, I finally have the opportunity to rebuild my home and my business, both destroyed by the hurricane. I now have to make informed decisions whether to rebuild or expand or move on. These are not trivial decisions, as they will substantially determine the trajectory of the rest of my life. To clarify my position, everyone needs to realize, as long as it's legal, I'm not against anything they're doing. They, like any of us, are businessmen endeavoring to take risk, and make profit. I don't fault anyone for that. What I propose is that we all work together, consider all best uses of the land. I support a use that will promote the long-term health, prosperity, and community of our community. Once I feel free to discuss. Anyway, to summarize, I'm not your enemy, okay?
My name is Dottie Aberbach. I live at 315 West Guile Avenue, approximately 2 miles from the Rockport Terminal site. As I've listened tonight, and when we moved here 3.5 years ago, there was still talk of development of the harbor to participate in the ecotourism industry. As I sit here listening that the land is all cleaned up and that it's not going to be used for anything that's detrimental, I wonder, why is it being marketed as a petrochemical site rather than a site that's all nice and clean and pristine and ready and able to service the tourism industry? Because the tourism industry is a clean industry, and one that we should welcome here at Aransas Pass, one that preserves our environment, one that preserves our health. If it's so clean, I really don't understand the marketing, sir. I don't think that there's currently a job opening, one job opening. I don't see jobs being a big issue because we don't have a buyer yet. But the job opening that does exist requires hazardous waste material licensing and hazmat remediation licensing. So I'm very curious, you know, they don't have a buyer. I don't understand why they are so opposed to annexation. And I'm still fairly confused about this whole issue. If it's clean, let's put the tourism industry in there. If it's not, let's keep cleaning it up. Thank you so much for your time.
My name is Jack Cheney. I'm Aransas County Commissioner, Precinct 1 and 1A. My only concern, I'm concerned about a lot of things, but my biggest concern is we have the city of Aransas Pass, who I've worked closely with for a long time, and we have another organization that I've worked with for the last 2 years, just monitoring what's going on that side. It seems to me like this has gotten out of hand as far as he said, she said type stuff. This is a business issue. I would certainly like to see the mediators that the council chose and the ones that the city, that the Commissioners Court chose. I would like to see those folks given time to come up with a really good thing that protects the city and allows businesses to come in to an area that's specifically set aside for businesses. I'm 100% behind you in the fact that I want something that goes in there that is not going to cause any kind of detrimental harm. And I don't think Commissioners Court will stand for that. I think that this is an opportunity for the community to go together to definitely come across something that both the city and the county can live with. Not the county, the city and the businesses can live with. And I see this a win-win for everybody. I see where the city can negotiate a payment in lieu of taxes for a reasonable amount that not only takes care of today, but takes care of 40 years in the future. That's mailbox money. That's money that you don't have to get out there and do stuff with, but you yet have the hammer that says that it'll be done according to the contract. Now, the city has a good source of these type of agreements. Mr. Earl has done a lot of these different agreements, but I just hate this name calling. I really do. And I am not going to call anything with the city bad, and I'm not going to call anything with the city with the Rockport terminals until one of y'all screw up and really cause a thing. But this is an opportunity for mailbox money, folks. And y'all need it, and we need it. Everybody needs it. But the main thing is that whenever I came back the day after the storm, till today, I'm still missing 25% of the people in my precinct because the only thing they had to live off of was tourism. And I have never been 100% in favor of doing tourism as a sole industry. We need industry, but we need good industry. And I think if we work together, we can get that done. I really do. And I don't think this is an annexation issue in this particular issue, this particular part. It's a non-annexation issue. This is a business decision. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Members of the City Council, my name is Sonny McGerald. I moved here a couple of months before the hurricane. A couple of the comments prompted me to come up here. I wasn't going to do it, and I hope I don't get robbed when I leave. But I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I stopped in and I saw the city secretary, and she showed me a plaque of the proposed units over there on the island, wherever they were, but where they were going to build there for tourism. The comment she made was that we are no longer going to be the dirty city on the way to Port Aransas. Take a ride down from Portland through to Ingleside. See what you see. Do you want to see it here? End of comment. So, up to y'all to decide.
Hello, I'm Captain Billy Koshin. I've been a fishing guide down here on these waters for 17 years. The things that I see out there, I lost my home too in Harvey. My husband came down with cancer. I mean, we've just been a whirlwind. I'm out on that water 5 or 6 times a week. There's still a lot of stuff out there on the water. I'm telling you, I lived in Texas City. I lived in Houston mostly all my life. The industry, the boats, the ships, the trains, and all that, what they have done to Texas City is unbelievable. This is my life, and I'm going to live it the best I can. My concern, and only concern, is the waterways and what we have out there. I'm telling you, it's in God's hands. What we see out there, and the people that come from all over the world that gets to come and see our water, it is just as beautiful as Florida. And we don't want to do anything to change that. For years and years, we've seen commercials on TVs, don't tear up our seagrass, help our birds. The birds are just now coming back. Just now coming back. And I've seen more turtles out on the water this year than I have in years. And the dolphins, and there's so much more out there than just the fish. That was made by God's hands, and we don't want to tear it up. So please just think about that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy Fulton, and I am from Port Aransas, Texas. And I am a member of a group known as PAC, Port Aransas Conservancy. We started Port Aransas Conservancy about a year ago under a little fledgling kind of group. We still are to some degree. We aren't weighing in on this issue of annexation. That is not our concern. We are concerned, though, about protecting this important, what we consider to be this very important fishery that comes here to Aransas, starts down here at the mouth, right here at Harbor Island. And everybody this fishery supports all of us. It supports Port Aransas, Rockport, Aransas Pass. PAC is concerned about the fact that what's happening is all this industrial development is happening in such a rapid pace, and these permits are being put out and approved, but nothing is being done in a managed timeline where we know exactly how the impacts of each successive industry, heavy industry, will affect our Redfish Bay estuary. And you just heard a wonderful segue, and you just heard one of your locals here talk about all the things that this fishery supports in the teeming marine life. That teeming marine life transfers to people coming to go fishing. Now, Port A may have a beach, but we are primarily, it's a fishing town. That's the truth. It's a fishing town. The joke is a fishing town with a drinking problem, or vice versa. Oh, no, wait, maybe it's a drinking town with a fishing problem. It's one of those two. Anyway, I just want to stress that I hope that in your considerations and in what you're doing, that you will please remember this fishery, this whole area, is the only decent, good, healthy fishery for at least 150 miles of Texas coastline. And we can't afford to let this fishery get damaged and killed like so many others have along this coastline. A lot of these companies are saying that, oh, well, there's still some amazing number of square miles of estuary. Well, the problem is, I want to keep this estuary where I am, thriving. And we would just say, please look at what your best options are to help our surrounding communities and your sister city, Port Aransas. We think that ecotourism right now is something Aransas Pass could really, truly benefit from. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dinah Bowman, and I am a business owner and a residential property owner here in Aransas Pass. And I've made a substantial investment as well as cleaning up my properties after the storm and looking toward to building those properties. My concern is one of my properties, actually a couple of them, border the railroad across from Mr. Lancaster. Okay, I've spent, the property's, on the way to being about $1 million. And I'm wondering, am I throwing my SBA loan money down a hole if the railroad starts being activated? Another concern about the railroad coming through our town is we all know what a problem we have with our drainage district here. Who all has gotten flooded because of the bad drainage in Aransas Pass? Or our businesses, okay? The railroad, because it was built years ago, there was not a lot of consideration about building, I think, bridges across proper drainage district, channels to allow the water to pass through. And so it's acted as a barrier, holding that water back. So that's one of my main concerns about, the retention of the railroad in its condition at this time. It is a dam. It's damned. Anyway, that is something that I have addressed our city people and previously is about the economic value of ecotourism. Specifically about the land that is behind the dike to the north of Goodnight Street. And so in regards to the annexation, I think that our area has been forced to make movements much more rapidly than had been anticipated because of the aggression that is being shown by the Port of Corpus Christi and the City of Corpus Christi wanting to annex out their extraterritorial jurisdictions. So I'm in favor of Aransas Pass extending their jurisdiction, because I'd rather not be included in Corpus. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Gallagher. I've been a long-time resident of Aransas Pass for the last 24 years. When my husband and I moved here back in 1995, Aransas Pass, you know, there was the lure of the area, the fishing industry, the tourism. One of the things we love is fishing. My husband plays golf. It's a great area. Over the past 20 years, though, this community has had plans of developing the tourist industry through the development of Com Brown Harbor. I don't see how putting a railroad through our town and bringing in heavy industry is going to help this project. I had the understanding in the past that the rails were actually going to be coming up and that we would have a biking and hiking trail. This was a very exciting time when we were told about this, and we've all been anxiously anticipating this and many of the other attractions that were involved in this project. But most of all, I'm concerned that what is going to happen to the fishing industry and the overall ecology of the area. Don't get me wrong, I have always been for development and responsible growth. Always have been. But please don't bring heavy industry into this town. Aransas Pass is destined for growth in tourism, fishing, the arts, and it's a wonderful retirement area. Please don't destroy our dream.
My name is Sarah Mesh, victim of Phase 1 annexation, and I want to know, how is it that these people are just now concerned about all this environmental issues, and where were they and why weren't they informed when you were negotiating with the people in the Gulf Marine sites?
Mayor, Council, Chief. I'm Melinda Williams, and I have been a resident of Aransas Pass for, I don't know, since 2008, so 11 years. I became a business owner, and I was so excited because I was still traveling back and forth to Bryan College Station. I couldn't wait to get down here. And I needed something to do when I finally retired from my career up there. And one of the biggest things that I did, and I worked dual jobs, is I wanted to share the experience that drew me and my family and my friends and what my husband and I called our forever home. With that being said, I opened a vacation rental company, and successfully, and had to rebuild it like everybody else after Harvey. And it is flourishing and growing beyond. And I feed people. That's my biggest pride, is I feed people and I make people's vacations and dreams come true by sharing our coast here. I used to joke with my husband, and I still do, that the Aransas Pass could be the next Monte Carlo of Venice, because we're in between Rockport and Port A. I still have visions of grandeur with that.
And regardless of how bad Harvey was, with every bad thing, there's great things, and it did a lot of cleanup here. And so Aransas Pass is really coming around. Well, with that being said, I'm also a real estate agent here, and if you allow the railroad to come through our town, we all know what does come with that, because it's inevitable. It's been happening over and over. It will not only impact tourism here, it'll impact tourism on all our sister cities in Port A and everything else, and everybody will decide to go to South Padre or back to Galveston. Think about this, and I'll piggyback on the boat captain that came up here and spoke. And thank you very much for that, by the way, because you did a great job in showing the dangers, which is based on fact and history of 100 some odd years ago or more. Our infrastructure here, although we're building it back, and the city council's doing a great job, and I'm really proud of the team that has been built. But we don't have a hospital here anymore. Our infrastructure is still weak. And thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Sandy Riggs. I'm a resident here in Aransas Pass, and my family have resided here for over 20 years. I think two main things that we need to think about is everyone's mentioned tourism, but we also, and I've heard ecotourism, and the birds are not dumb. They know exactly where beauty is, and beauty resides here, and we need to make sure that we maintain the integrity of this area. And if there's been a lot of money already spent in remediating past industry that have resided here, we need to keep it clean and move forward with building the ecotourism that's here. Last time I checked, just like industry, big business makes multi-millions of dollars, so does ecotourism. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we need to maintain that here in Aransas Pass. And the railroad is not for the birds, and we need to make sure that we keep that in mind. Thank you.
I'm Lisa Gallagher, and I live in Pelican Cove. And I came here with some questions that were not answered yet, so I thought I'd bring it up. It's a proven fact that railroads bring property values down. And I'm wondering, I was hoping to get some answers on when and where this railroad was going to go. And also the storage tanks that are used on the facility, how are they going to be used? Because I've read that storage tanks have a 15 to 20 year lifespan, and are they going to be using those old storage tanks? And also the size and the amount of boats that are going to be going through. I was kind of curious about that also, and I was wondering if we can ask those questions.
Good evening. I know y'all seen me before. I would like to actually address everybody because there's a lot of new faces in here.
Sir, can you state your name?
My name is Eric Popejoy. I'm part of, well, actually I'm not being in the annexation now, but me and my wife have been to every one of the meetings. Very nice to see all the new faces. I want to let y'all know that I am listening to what y'all are saying for the first time, okay? And I agree with you. Hurricane Harvey hit everybody. Pardon me. Hurricane Harvey hit everybody. Everybody had a hard time building, okay? The people out there in the county are no different than everybody sitting in this room. I have built 11 chemical plants, powerhouses, and such. And ma'am, your answer to your question about the tanks, I don't know where you went. They actually get a company in there and they rebuild them. If there's jobs, they need to redo the floor, I do that, okay? That's the only reason. If they're too bad, they don't pass inspection, they tear them down and build a new one. I know there's a lot of people in here, well, I would imagine there's a lot of people in here that might be engineers or business people, okay? I just got off of work, I was hot and sweaty, I had to throw a shirt on real quick, so forgive me for my appearance. This annexation is affecting us like it is y'all. Y'all talk about the railroad that's gonna go through. If we really stop and think about it, when big business, because they have so much money, okay? I'm working at the Exxon plant right now. They're gonna make little plastic pellets, okay? Back in '87, I worked for a job that made plastic film. In 1 year, we made enough plastic to go around the earth 7 times. The company's name was Van Leer Flexible at the time. I just want to let y'all know, keep in your mind that even whatever y'all decide, there's a lot of money coming to this region. Big money. As long as the city council maintains not just Aransas Pass, Ingleside, Corpus, where we don't have another, what is that one, Formosa? Okay, they make plastic pellets. When they first opened up, they would dump it in the Gulf. That's why Port O'Connor and all that area, if y'all remember about, I don't know, maybe 8, 10 years ago, you had the fish coming up, they were floating. They were eating the plastic. We don't want that. So my heart goes out with y'all. I agree with you. We don't need a railroad. The floods, okay, well, the railroad comes in and they're that close, I guarantee you they're gonna build it up enough to where the railroad doesn't flood. So that might help everybody on that side of the railroad tracks. You know, it's up to our mayor and our city council and our police force and the manager. It's up to them to take care of all these aspects, not just for the people in the county, but also for the people in the city.
Sir, your 10 minutes, 3 minutes are up.
Can I say one, just one? Please? It's up to y'all. It's not derogatory or anything. If I say something really good,
I let you, I gotta let everybody else.
10-4. I respect that.
I don't wanna get creeped on that.
No, I
Appreciate it.
My name is Opal Wiltshire, and I'm in Phase 2 annexed area. And everybody's sitting here talking about how, everybody's talking about the ecosystem and all the things. We have a town that's full of heroin and crack cocaine. We need to focus on those kind of things. And our kids aren't dying. That's what we need to focus on. We don't need to focus on all this other stuff. The fighting between the city and the terminals, that's uncalled for. There's no reason for it. We should join together. I think we need to work more on the drug addiction issues that we have in this town than fighting between each other.
Anybody else? Bill?
Evening. My name's Jimmy Owens. I lived here going on 52 years. And I've watched Aransas Pass for 52 years. And y'all been working on that harbor for over 20, and you ain't really done much in my book. If you go down McCampbell, you'll see that there's been a hole in that road for how many months now? 2 years? 2 years. And y'all want to annex my property and start taking taxes out of my paycheck every day. And everybody's talking about this, when I think a lot of people came here about being annexed. It upsets me. Because y'all, if you get on this side of this road over here and look at these roads going this way, y'all can't take care of what y'all got. Y'all aren't managing the town now. Y'all want to come in, charge me money if I want to put a porch on my house when y'all can't take care of what y'all got already. I'm gonna let it go at that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Hunter. My fiance and I own about 12 acres, and about half of it, just found out, is not going to be annexed. I would have been in a corner of one of the houses that we bought, but I've looked at Aransas Pass. I kind of hoped that Rockport would annex us because they have a better reputation. The shrimpery was fantastic. Did everybody enjoy the shrimpery? I saw the parade coming through, and I looked at the gutters on the sides of the streets. We don't have a street sweeper in this town. Every sidewalk's got grass, or every curb's got grass growing over it into the road. I mean, it looks, part of the reputation we get is based on how we appear, the way we look. I had to move here from Port Aransas after the hurricane. Our condo got destroyed and we ended up having to sell. But, I have an eco-tourist business in Southeast Alaska. I can't run one with all the industry that's here. So that's all the time I need. Thank you.
My name's Robert Lawson. I own several properties in the annex area. Actually, one property in the annex area and one property on the edge of Aransas Pass. On Moore Avenue, I've owned property there for 20 years. I still have no city amenities. I pay city taxes. You ain't gonna get them either. I still have no sewer, no water, no trash service. I have to take care of it all myself. 20 years. And now you're taking property of mine on Jacoby. Am I gonna have to wait another 20 years?
Anybody else?
My name's Gary McRae. I own a business on the 35, hooked up RV. Kind of worried about taxes for the annexation, but I don't want the railroad open back up either. That was one reason we bought hooked up RV out there. That was closed down. Didn't think it'd ever open back up. You guys got a tough job. You got to find a happy medium with these guys and all the city citizens as well. I am worried about taxes for one reason. Rockport, Aransas County's hitting us pretty hard. They've come up with across the board $10,000 tax on every RV site. So our taxes are going up big time. We're gearing up for a fight for that here in the next day or two. So we have 50-something sites at $10,000 a piece. So, thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Chuck Newland. I reside in Aransas Pass. Excuse me. My wife is Lisa Newland. She's the one hiding under the chair back there because she's afraid of what I'll say. This is a little bit, I guess, different from what everybody else has said. I'm viewing this, and I've owned a lot of properties. I own 2 properties along the road right now. One of them's over 1,000 feet right here in town. And I've owned hundreds of properties. If I ever wanted to do something with one of those properties, different, I'd go to my next door neighbor and everybody and talk about it and show them. And I'd go there right because I was not ashamed of what I was doing. I was proud of it. If I hadn't been, I'd have sent my lawyer. So my biggest question is, where are the people that are doing this? prepared presentation, and they didn't want to face the tough questions that really need to be asked about this, okay? That being one thing. Another, they've only minorly alluded to these lawsuits. I want to congratulate them for creative law, I will call it. They sued a young lady who lives in this town, is very socially conscious about the town, barely ekes out a living as a massage therapist, and you sued her for $20 million, and I've read it. And so you've sued the city, you've sued these people, and you say, I want to be a good neighbor. My experience in life, if you want to be a good neighbor, is don't sue all your neighbors. That's all I got to say. As a Democrat.
Okay, now. One more.
Hello, I'm Joe Kruger from Port Aransas, Texas, and I grew up with Mr. Earl. I just wanted to know if that site is clean enough, why don't you put a resort area there or something? It makes a lot of money, we're in the right place for it. I just had that question. And besides that, the nurdles are still showing up in Port Aransas beaches from the Formosa plant.
Good afternoon, my name is Mary Manal. I've lived here since 1980, and I live behind Degussa. I know what comes out of there. I came tonight to find out what's going on, because I walk out my door and I'm right there in their yard. This is not right. And I want to know, I mean, I don't want to be annexed by Corpus. I don't want to be annexed by y'all. I lost a lot during the hurricane. I'm still trying to rebuild my home. I don't even have water. I had to pump it off my mom's property. But this, I mean, I'm against it because I don't want taxes higher because I still can't fix my home. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, now.
Can y'all hear me? My name is Rhonda Holmes, and I live in Aransas County, borderline of the annex, and probably borderline. I haven't figured out where the line goes towards my property, but I think a good idea would be to build a hospital instead of more possible damage to everybody.
My name is Wesley Pilgrims. My family and I moved here about 17 years ago. We moved here about 17 years ago. And the city of Aransas, I've never seen a city that couldn't grow. To be honest with you, I don't see you guys doing anything at all. We got a road put in that came out of our own pocket. We got drainage put in by getting a backhoe and a shovel and getting out there and digging it. Where we are? Where was our help? We came here tonight to get the truth of what's going on. Y'all didn't let it all come out. You held it back. I'm against the annexation.
nobody else, well, I declare the public meeting closed. 7:32. Now we're gonna go to 6.4. It is voluntary annexation, Hogan Homes Phase 2. Consider and conduct a public hearing for the proposed voluntary annexation of certain property commonly known as Hogan Homes or Harbor Heights Phase 2. A portion of San Patricio County Appraisal District property ID number 63789 with a legal description being of 7.914 acres of tract of land being out of and a part of farm lots 3, 4, and 5, land block 75 of the TP Mechanical subdivision according to the establishment map or plat thereof as recorded in envelope 11, page 21 and 22 of the map records, San Patricio County, Texas, and being a portion of that same tract of land described by special warranty deed and vendor's lien in favor of the third party dated October 18, 2005, conveyed from Compass Bank's successor trustee to Gallagher Builders Incorporated as recorded in instrument number 55005559 of real property records, San Patricio County, Texas.
Mayor and City Council members, on June 6, 2019, Gallagher Builders and Bay Breeze Development LP, the owners of this described property, submitted a petition to voluntarily annex into the city of Aransas Pass. They are actually going to be building some homes for our city. We expect about 50 additional homes will be built. In submitting this voluntary petition, they do meet all the requirements of the Texas Local Government Code to do so. While a public hearing is not required with a voluntary petition, this council wants to hear any comments for or against the voluntary annexation of Hogan Homes, also known as Harbor Heights Phase 2. So this agenda item is the public hearing. The following agenda item is to consider whether or not the council will grant the petition under resolution number 2019-898. And the following agenda item is whether or not to adopt the voluntary petition and actually annex the land.
Thank you for your help.
Okay. Now I open up the public hearing for the voluntary annexation of Hogan Homes Phase 2. Any comments? Well,
Council, Raymond Gallagher, 141 Seabreeze. I'm Gallagher Builders. I'd appreciate it if you approve this. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Patrick King, 2359 County Road 1986. And I just wanted to put on the record that the proposed development that is occurring there off Avenue 8 with Hogan Homes has created some major concerns with drainage for the residences downstream. And I've talked to the county, and I think that there's a plan being worked out to try to resolve that issue. But I would really like to see it put in the plan and a timeline to resolve that as we move forward. I'm definitely not against the development of it, but there's been some substantial issues in regards to the recent heavy rains and flooding downstream on Highland. So, thank you.
okay. Anybody else?
My name is Donald Brummett. I've been a resident of Aransas Pass since 1962. I'm like Mr. Patrick there, that flooding from when they first raised that Hogan Homes, they really need to do something both to stop that flooding on that second phase. We got kinfolks that live out there, and I have seen water in his garage 3 times since Hogan Homes was supposed to have built a ditch to retain that water, but it's not happening.
Anybody else? Okay, now I declare the public hearing closed. 7:37. Now we're gonna go to 6.5. Is resolution number 2019-898, granting petition to voluntary annex. Consider discussion and act to approve resolution number 2019-898, granting a voluntary annexation petition from Gallagher Builders Incorporated and Bay Breeze Development LP, the property owners of an area of land commonly known as Hogan Homes or Harbor Heights, Phase 2, a portion of the San Patricio County Appraisal District property ID number 63789, with a legal description being a 7.941 acre tract of land being out of and part of farmlands 3 and 4 and 5, land block 75 of the T.P. McCampbell subdivision according to the establishment map or plat thereof as recorded in envelope 1 or envelope 11, pages 21 and 22 of the map records, San Patricio County, Texas, of being a portion of that same tract of land described by special warranty deed with vendors lien in favor of third party dated October 18, 2005, conveyed from Compass Bank's successor trustee to Gallagher Builders Incorporated as recorded in instrument number 55005559 of the Real Property Records, San Patricio County, Texas, petitioning to voluntary annex said area into the city limits of the city of Aransas Pass, Texas.
Well, I'll make a motion we approve resolution 2019-898.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're going to go to 6.6, ordinance number 2019-4242, adoption of Hogan Homes voluntary annexation. Consider, discuss, and take action to adopt an ordinance number 2019-4242 to annex certain property commonly known as Hogan Homes or Harbor Heights Phase 2, a portion of San Patricio County Appraisal District property ID number 63789, with the legal description being a 7.941 acre tract of land being out of and part of farm lots 3, 4, and 5, land block 75 of the T.P. McCampbell subdivision according to the establishment map or plat thereof as recorded in envelope 11, pages 21 and 22 of the map recorded records, San Patricio County, Texas, as being a portion of that same tract of land described by special warranty deed with a vendor's lien in favor of third party dated October 18, 2005, conveyed from the Compass Bank successor trustee to Gallagher Builders Incorporated as recorded in instrument number 55005559 of the Real Property Records, San Patricio County, Texas, and extending the boundary limits of the city so as to include the described property within the city limits and granting all inhabitants of the property all the rights and privileges of other citizens and binding the inhabitants by all of the ordinances, resolutions, acts, and regulating of the city adopting a city municipal service plan for the property, providing instructions by filing this ordinance and connecting or correcting the official map and boundaries of said city, providing severability and cumulative clauses, and providing an effective date, and that's a lot of reading.
You repeat that?
No.
Repeat that? Okay, well, I make a motion, we approve ordinance 2019-4242.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to Gary, it's your turn.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this item you are somewhat familiar with, and this item has been before the Memorial Commission, has been approved by the Memorial Commission, and the recommendation is to approve it. And that is the authorizing construction and maintenance of a Blue Star Military Memorial at Harbor Point Park. and other memorial tower issues. So again, this has been reviewed, and the recommendation is passed.
I make a motion that we authorize construction and maintenance of a Blue Star Military Memorial in Harbor Point Park and other memorial tower issues.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the next item is an item that you requested that we bring forward to you, and that is a 3-year contract with the CPA, Brenda McElway, to conduct the annual audit for the city of Aransas Pass. And that is what is before you, if you wish to continue with with that particular firm as far as our audit goes.
I make a motion we approve of 3-year contract with Brenda McElwee, CPA, to conduct the annual audit for the city of Aransas Pass.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Shorty.
Yeah, thank you. You already voted, thank you very much. I just wanted to point out that there were some, in the contracts, there are some dates that are very specific that we have to get followed this year to stay on track. We'd like to get your audit out on January 1st. January 31st, I get my own dates right here, I'm getting a little ahead of the game. That was very important. We did manage to get the price down a little bit for you. We got 12% knocked out by combining the 2 audits, and I really appreciate your help and your vote tonight. Thank you.
Where did you move to? I looked for you over there. You were like...
Yeah, I was gone. I'm trying to get up here where I can read.
Next item. We have a report, if she is here, from the municipal judge, the monthly report from Judge Morales.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is our May report. Cases filed, 284, convictions, 86. I magistrated 57 inmates. 7 CAPAS pro fines were issued. 47 Class C warrants were issued. I signed 63 warrants for the CID, and we had approximately about 136 walk-ins. I held 2 emergency protection orders. I issued two emergency protection orders, and last month I mentioned the one-day clinic that I attended in the month of May. I kind of got ahead of myself. And I attended the domestic violence one-day clinic, the regional judges seminar, and I felt very honored because out of approximately about 125 judges, I was selected to participate in a panel discussing problems, situations, recommendations for small municipal courts. I also attended a fines and fees seminar, and we attended or participated in 2 webinars. I held several hearings. Inmates were transported back to our court. They had pending charges, and they were transported back so we could hold a hearing. And then I ended up going back to the county jail to address another pending charge of one of the inmates that needed to be addressed. And I held a hearing on the 25th, which was on a Saturday, on a minor. It was during a spring break violation. And then I held a hearing for removal of 43 dogs. On the, I don't know if this is a mistake. On the OCA report, on our collections, on page 6, our collections were $25,416.84, and compared to 2017, the collection total was $45,088.87. And out of that, going back to page 6, $16,171.57. The city stays with that, and then the remaining of $9,245.27 goes to the state. And I also compared it to 2018, and it was, the total collection was $27,364.17. I believe that the collections refer to people trying to get back on their feet, and so we're working with that. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to development services. Consider an act on the issuance of a request for proposals for roofing, replacement, repairs at City Hall, Municipal Court, and Police and Fire Department buildings.
And that's pretty much what it is, Mr. Mayor. We need to move forward with this critical work. We found even new leaks last night, so would like to move forward with this if the council agrees to go out for the RFP.
Make a motion that we go out for RFP for roofing replacement repairs at City Hall, Municipal Court, Police and Fire Department buildings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we go to monthly building department report. Mr. Burrow.
Try not to break this. Mayor, council, we had 109 permits this month, and it's running the same as it did last month, about 2,000,003. We are growing, and the majority of it right now is residential. We do have a lot more commercial coming in almost on a daily basis. So I don't know if there's any questions. It's about as short and sweet as I can make it.
Good job.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Merle.
Okay, now we're going to go to finance. Consider an act on resolution number 2019-897 approving the assignment, commitment, or restriction of fund balance in accordance with Governmental Standard Board GASB Statement Number 54.
Hi, good evening. At the audit, when we had the audit last year, our ending balance for the general fund was a little bit over $2 million. So as per GASB 54, we are required to do several things. You can either classify the money as restricted, meaning that the entity that gave you that money has put a restriction for the purpose for you to use that money. You can classify it as committed, meaning that you have a special you've earmarked that money for something and you're committing those funds. You can assign those funds, or it's just an unassigned fund balance. So at the end of the fiscal year, we had $594,690 that should be classified as restricted. It's comprised of $533,220 that the One Star Foundation gave us for the EOC, and also $31,494 of that was for the PETCO grant, $25,000 was from the Coastal Bend Foundation, and $4,976 were for FEMA projects. So that money is restricted. The people that gave us that money have restricted that money, so therefore we should restrict it. $506 should go under committed. $277,462 On the city charter, under section 11, we have to appropriate 3% of the general fund budget for what is called a contingent appropriation. So 3% of our general fund budget is at $277,462. The MDD had funded the repairs for the Civic Center and advanced the city some money. Last year, they advanced us $400,000, of which $272,614 were left over. So that makes up the $550,000. And the difference, which is the $1.7 million, would be undesignated fund balance. And that's basically pretty much what the resolution in front of you is. Any questions? You have to vote on the resolution.
Well, I'll make a motion, we approve resolution number 2019-897.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I go to my monthly. I'm sorry. Overall, we are doing good. Overall, our revenues are coming in higher than we had projected, and our expenditures are coming in lower than we projected. For the month, overall revenues over projected exceeded $75,000. We'll see that for the first time, the Aquatic Center is starting to generate revenues. They just opened their doors. For the month of May, they generated $28,000. We had budgeted $26,000. So they exceeded those expectations. I did want to point them out because they're always the ones that never generate, but because they hadn't been open. So just FYI. Okay, so you'll see on the second slide where the red dot exceeds the revenues where we've projected for those. The Civic Center is still lacking. We're still obviously working on repairs and people getting to find out that we're still open. We're already open for business. The expenditures you'll see, for the exception of the general fund, everything came in under budget. The general fund did have an excess of expenditures over budgeted for the month. Now, the property tax, you're going to see the next slide. Property tax collected year-to-date is $4.2 million. Last year, it was $4 million, and the year before that, it was $3.9 million. I'll say again, it doesn't mean that we've levied more taxes because all we levied was about $100,000 more this year. It just means that people are paying at a better rate than they were in the past. Sales tax collected year-to-date, we are at $1.4 million. Last year we were at 1.7, but last year was our outlier year. It was all that construction revenue, all the lows and all of that. So if we compare ourselves to 2017, that was at 1.3 million. So you'll notice a significant jump from 2017, which is really our base year, comparing it to right now. And I do in my office, I didn't bring that here with me, I do have a spreadsheet from, I believe it's 1995 or 98, all the sales tax every month, and you can see a constant growth. Obviously 18 jumps really high, but you can see a steady growth in our sales tax. Then the last one is overall collections. What the crime board collected year to date is $669,000. What MDD has collected is $647,000, and what the city's collected is $1.4 million year to date combined. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Okay, now we're going to go to public safety. It is to consider an act to end the contract between Frontier and Commerce Emergency Contract with Cable One for phone services.
Eric? Thank you, Mayor and Council. Let's pull up here for a minute. We ended, as you guys know, having a lot of phone outages for our non-emergency lines. In fact, it was so constant, we had 2 to 3 a week towards the end there, and multiple in a day at times. We had to pull the trigger on finding something else. It was very unreliable. We have backup phone lines just for our people that we have to push out and everything to make sure that they can get a hold of us, or they're calling 911. So we got with Gary on it, looked through the contract, talked to Roxanne, I believe, briefly about it too, because of the exit of the old agreement, which there was no contract breach fees or anything like that. We were going on a month-to-month service with them, with Frontier. And the only other available option in the area is Cable One. So we're on Cable One now. We had to move quickly to get this done. It will come at a savings, though, to the city. And they also increased our bandwidth for our internet. So, I mean, there's more benefits than not. We had to switch our long-distance carrier. If you guys recall that you guys did give us the blessing to switch that a while back. There was no breach or anything with TCS. We were able to get out of that. And I believe there's also savings worked into that as well. So we're looking forward to the savings, but more so we're looking forward to the continuity of service without interruption. This is a post-event approval. Gary approved the first one. So if you're upset about that, I'll let you take Gary out back without any police observation.
Oh, it's your motion. Someone? Make a motion to end the contract with Frontier and Commerce Emergency Contract. Is that what we're on?
And
Okay.
commence emergency contract with Cable One.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to consider an act on approving ordinance number 2019-4243, mandating the use of a third-party inspection reporting system for the city of Aransas Pass.
So this is just a great program for us to use. It's absolutely free to us. It's absolutely free to the business owner. It's absolutely free for the contractor to be out doing the inspections. And what this program does is allow us to have a communication with all the people involved to make sure that all the inspections are being done on sprinkler systems, fire alarm systems, hood suppression systems, even fire extinguishers. And when there is an issue, they're already required to notify us by law. They can do it through this system, and we can have that open pathway to talk back and forth. It's just it's a program that's actually been around for several years. Compliance Center, they approached us the other day about it, and we've been talking about it.
I make a motion that we accept the third-party inspection reporting system for the city of Aransas Pass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to monthly public safety report.
Thank you again, Mayor, Council. Just to give you some of the highlights for this past month, the officers, as you know, were awarded a life-saving medal along with some of the firefighters for saving a life. We have deployed Narcan, you know, the nasal spray for opioid addiction and stuff like that. We have been using that. Marine One, our boat, got sent out once last month, as you know, with the kayaker that was fatally killed. And what you don't know is he was also sent out over the weekend. We thought we had a dead body in the water, but it turned out to be a turtle. I don't know how we thought it was a dead body. But anyways, it wasn't a dead body, just more turtle.
It was a headless one.
Yes, it was a headless turtle.
You sure it wasn't?
I don't know, he was dead, Billy, I couldn't ask him. Anyways, investigations also helped us last month because we had a stranger danger scare, so we had all units out following school buses around and stuff like that. We had 1,481 hours of training if you put all staff and everybody together. And emergency management has been gearing up and getting busy, not only for hurricane season and stuff like that, but also for the school security programs that we are helping them institute as well. There's all the stats. They should already be online right now. People can go look and spend time looking at it. Our department feedback from cold call surveys, we got all 10s with the exception of a 9. I'll take it. and there are the comments, and then a breakdown of the calls. So if you don't have any questions particular to the report, that's my report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Nathan? Got the monthly fire department report now.
Okay, so the fire department ran 65 calls, 7 of those were fires, 3 of them being structure fires. Of course, looks like our calls are a little bit on a rise. We're seeing more and more calls, and most of that's going to be medical, 69.23% is medical. With our training, we got to do something really good this last month. We actually got to do a driving simulator. That driving simulator was provided to us for free. It's free education from Texas A&M and TEEX. It is the same type simulator they allow NASA to use to train astronauts. It is really neat, a neat program. All of our personnel went through, including me and Chief Borrego, where we got to drive cheap trucks and stuff like that. It was really cool. Most of you guys drove fire trucks. With that, we did 57 and a half total class hours with 110 and a half personnel hours overall. On our inspections, we did a total of 21 inspections. What we're seeing right now is a lot of new construction. We've actually had to enlist our 3 captains to start doing some of our annual inspections. We're just started going out to businesses that are already there, and they're doing their annual inspections. But with that, they get to do their pre-fire planning. New firefighters that we're hiring on are getting to see some of the buildings that they may have never gone inside of. So those are, but what we're primarily seeing the fire marshal do now is do new construction inspections. It's just, it's a lot of type personnel.
Questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doing a job, please.
Now we go to citizen comments, or you have any staff announcements?
No staff announcements.
Okay. Go ahead. None? No. Okay. We're going to go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments for 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policy, or advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting. No comments? Can I have a motion? Close.
Make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I'm so glad we don't have an executive session.
Oh, Lord.